Welcome to another video of Naylor's Garage. What you're going to see in this video is the full design process, or full process of 3D scanning, designing, and you'll see the end products, what I've got in my hands here, and how we go from something like this, which is a pretty average design, from a poor scan, which is all my fault. Like, I did the scan, didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I've worked on it a little bit. I understand how to use the Creality software a bit better, what I should be doing for a better scan. It's still not perfect, but it's damn sight better. And how we went from this to this, which fits the rear wing, the OEM rear wing, so much nicer, to the point where it's pretty much hooking round there. So you will see the whole design process, the whole scanning process. It will be a long video. This is going to be quite a big process of scanning, designing, and then getting the test pieces done. It's not going to be a 2-minute video, but what it will show is that sort of anyone can do this. Like, this is my second attempt at doing it, and you learn new tips and tricks with every time you're designing something, and it might just give you the inkling that you might want to start designing stuff for your car yourself as well. Obviously the aftermarket scene for these cars has died down a little bit now. You can't buy as many of the body kits and what have you that you used to be able to, and spoilers and stuff. But with modern day technology, with 3D scanners, accessible CAD software and 3D printers, we'll go through and see what I can design and what I can make up. I've already designed one, didn't fit very well because my scan wasn't very good. In this video we're going to re-scan and then design again. I've already got the bits here, test pieces in yellow, that you'll see some little footage that we're going to go from the black to this yellow one, and you'll see the difference on what a good scan can do for you. So I've put all my tracking dots on. I've actually used 2 sheets of the tracking dots, only on this little area. They are only small, these ones are 3mm I think, or yeah, 3mm. You can get 3, 6 or 12mm tracking dots. These are the smallest ones that were in the kit. I thought I'd just give them a go. Probably not going to use them for anything else. I'll either get 6 or 12 for future scans. But I thought I'd just give them a go, because I'm going to do a closer scan. So I want to get the project underway. New project, E30 rear wing. We're going to go for a medium scan, which technically this is too big for a medium scan, but I want the resolution, so it might, we'll see how we get on. So yeah, happy as Larry. So hopefully, like I say, I've put more dots on one side than the other, although I want the whole scan. The main thing is I have a decent resolution for half, because I'll actually design the rear wing as a half rather than, and then mirror it, rather than try and design it exactly the same over the full length. So like I say, it's better I get a good resolution on here and then double it. I just need that for the size basically. So we've now got our mesh, as you can see here, in Creality Scan or whatever scan software you've used, or whatever 3D scanner you've got and have used. They will have their own proprietary,
I don't know what that word means,
scan software. But yeah, so we've got the scan. As you can see, this side, the scan maybe isn't quite as good as this side, but like I said in the little intro, this half is the more important half. We've got a few little defects here, but hopefully this scan is better than my original. I'll back to back the two in a minute, but in fact I'll do it now. So this is the original one I did. If I bring the mesh on when it comes up, you can see how much more rounded it is around here. It's not taking in anywhere near as much detail as I would have hoped, and that's just me not really. It's part of the learning process. Like I say, I'm no expert when it comes to 3D scanning, but you can see the difference in the detail even when you look at these edges here and here compared to this one. Then you can see, if I zoom in, just how much crisper those lines are and how much better the detail is, specifically on that underside. Even though I did struggle to scan that, you will have seen on the previous footage that it was quite difficult to scan because of trying to get down and then it was losing markers. I also struggled with the sun a little bit. It was struggling to find the markers when it was sunny, so you'll have seen me trying to shade the back of the car or where I was scanning. You will have also noticed, I did try and start using the medium scan. However, it wasn't picking up the scan dots, and I think it was because they were just too small, and that's why that you have different sizes. I think really if I was doing a medium size scan, I should have probably used the 6mm ones rather than the 3mm ones. So I didn't want to waste all the 3mm ones, so because I'd dotted them everywhere and I'd used every one that I'd got, I used the small scan setting, which was the obviously even closer, higher resolution setting, and struggled a bit, but it did do it. I think one thing that's holding me back with the scanning side of it is actually the laptop that I'm using. I want to export this to, I'm just going to put it in, export it where you want it basically, and save it as an STL. Now that's done, you're done in the Creality software now. What I'm using to align the mesh is Autodesk Mesh Mixer, which is an older software. I think Fusion 360 is supposed to eliminate, or not eliminate, but combine a lot of these softwares. But I just find it a little bit easier to control and spin around the mesh than trying to do it in Fusion 360. There's a little bit more fidelity. So I get it basically spun round to the right spot, and then I'll do my very, very fine tweaking on Fusion 360. Usually I don't need to do too much, but I will just do that fine tweaking so I know everything's flat, level, flat in all three planes, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I'm going to open my scan, which is in 3D Objects, and then Scan 2. And because I've done it in a small scan, it's got a lot of data to process, so my laptop will struggle a little bit. So as you can see, there's your origin, and it's absolutely nowhere near the origin. So what I'm going to do, or what we do, is go into edit, transform, and then it's just as simple as dragging it roughly, well not roughly, as well as you can, to the origin. Most of this information I did get from Making for Motorsport. I've followed quite a few of his videos to sort of help me align my mesh and stuff like that. So I will link his YouTube channel in the description. He does a lot of 3D scanning and stuff like that, because it's well worth a watch, and someone who probably knows what they're doing better than I do. Right, so if you use Alt and Shift, it makes it so you can drag. That makes it a little bit easier. I've been trying to figure that out for ages. So anyway, that's looks pretty level. Basically what I try and do is line these edges up on the wing to these lines. Basically I find that the easiest way. I did this last time, I barely had to tweak it in Fusion. That's about there. And like I say, I will do a final tweak in Fusion. So I will export do I export it? Pretty sure I do. I'm just going to save it over the top of the other one, because the other one's pretty much useless to me now, because it's way off on the coordinate system. So that's everything I want to do on Mesh Mixer. So I'll get rid of that. Now we've done on Mesh Mixer, we want to have a look at Fusion, which is what I'm going to use as the CAD software. So as you can see, we've already got it open. You can see some of the things I've already tried designing up and been messing about with. Some of these are from years and years ago when I had a little play. But yeah, we're going to start a new project. And annoyingly on Fusion, when you press new, it pings you up 2 new items. I don't know why. And then we're going to go insert mesh, or mesh, and then insert mesh, and then select from computer. And then you just need to find where you saved it, which I think it's already in the folder for me. Scan to. So what you'll notice is actually this mesh looks slightly different to what it did in the previous bit of footage. This is because I had accidentally in the Creality software filled all the holes and basically made it a solid unit, which is not what you want to do. And because of the shape of it, it had put a surface above the line of the rear window, and that's what the yellowish stuff you could see on the previous footage. So I've just gone back and just basically did all the same steps as what I've already said. It's just I didn't shell it. I didn't fill the holes. Now we're in Fusion. We're gonna orientate this and get it even closer. So what I like to do is go on the top plane. We'll do a sketch, and then on that top plane, and then basically I just want to make a nice X through, so I've got a nice cross junction, because this is what I'm going to reference it all. When I move the mesh, it's all going to be in reference to these lines, so I'm going to, I'll show you what I'm going to do. where I've dimensioned it 5/16 on both sides, I basically worked out that the rear wing that I'm measuring is 1042 or something like that, I can't remember if, or 132 mil, or 1032 mil. Got there in the end. So what that means, it gives me two solid reference points for me to move this mesh, so it gets perfectly in the middle of the coordinate system, because what I'm going to do is just model one half of the rear wing and mirror it, so it's very important that I get this mesh bang in the middle, because otherwise if it's off by 5 mil one side or the other, it could be 10 mil bigger or shorter, which is obviously not ideal when you're doing a rear wing. So I'm going to use these as reference points. I should put all those as construction lines really, so if I turn them to construction, finish sketch, and what I am going to do is just move the mesh behind or after the sketch in the timeline. It's just so when you do your movement of your mesh, you can still see the sketch. I'll just do that as 70 mil. Just means that I'm going to have the actual rear wing more centred around the origin rather than being way above the origin, that's all. So we'll pull that back down. So you can see when it comes to the line, because that's parallel, what we want to do is get this bottom edge here and this bottom edge here want to be on that line, and that'll mean that it's perfectly straight in that plane. So it does need a tiny bit of tilt, or yeah, tiny bit of rotation. So I just like to go back into the same move every time, and we want to spin it around the Z axis, I believe. It's only going to be a tiny amount, like 0.3. That might have even been too much, probably 0.1. And then we want to move it up in the Y, I think. So if I go 1.5, I mean that's pretty close, probably 155. Yeah, so you can see there it's pretty damn close. So let's see if it's right on the other side. Probably just wants a tiny bit more angle if we're being picky. I mean, that's pretty good. And as you can see there, the bottom of that edge is pretty much bang on that line. So hopefully we'll go over here like it is. It's pretty much bang on. So we've got it perfectly angled in that orientation. So now I want to get it level in the other orientation, which is the front. As you can see, my sketch is still in there, so we will use that as a reference. And the next thing is trying to find a nice valuable spot to take a reference from, which I think is probably in there. So I'm going to send it just down a tiny bit. I want to go down in the z-axis, but it's probably going to be -2. I am also going to save. One thing I always forget to do is save something straight away, and then I get to a point where my computer can't handle it and just crashes, and then I have to. Luckily, it has like a recovery file, but it's never to the latest point. So before I get too carried away, I'll save it. We'll call it E30 rear. Helps if you can spell rear. Wing 2. So we're going to go, when that's finished saving, back into this move, and we want to move it across. Try and get that edge pretty lined up with that end there. So we want to move it in the x-axis. I think it's only going to be 2 mil or so. 4. What I'm going to do is just move those lines just out 1 mil. And we'll finish that. We'll go back into this move. So I mean that's pretty close there. I mean I'd say that's nigh on bang on. So I'm happy with that. So now the last plane, so we've got it orientated right on the top plane. We've also got it located right in the correct location, left to right. So now I just want to double check that it's flat on this angle as well. And once all that's done, I know when I do my mirror, it should be pretty much bang on. So I'm going to take obviously my reference line again, and then I'm going to try and get it on that hard edge there. So I do want to go down on the z-axis, maybe -4. I mean that goes through there. Yeah, so we want to do a little bit of a tilt on the y-axis. So probably -0.3, and that's pretty damn close, is that? I'm pretty happy with that, to the point where I'm happy to start modelling from that. So we've got it level in every direction now. You may have noticed I didn't bother trying to line anything up from this side because it's irrelevant. It is for me and what I'm doing right now. It's pretty irrelevant. If you're doing I don't know, a big boot, massive boot spoiler or something like that, maybe you need it all. But I haven't got enough scan data to warrant orientating it better on this way. So now we've done this, we will start creating a form. And what we want to do is basically what I do is make it up on with these faces. To start with, I start with some quite big faces just to get the basics shape of the rear wing, because what I want to do is create this rear wing, or this little boot spoiler that's on there. I want to remake that profile because I want, when I 3D print it, I want that to hook round the current spoiler and sit on there, so it's got a nice bit of bonding surface. So that's the first thing I like to do, is just get that surface plane done, and then we'll go and make the actual spoiler, what we want to see, what we want to design. So you want to snap to object. I just keep it simple. So what we'll do, I like to keep it quite close to the centre, but I just leave a tiny bit. You can actually still see where the markers for the 3D scanner are. I'm sure it was supposed to remove them on the post-processing, but whether that is then removed, I don't know. May well be. So what I like to do is just get this basic outer shape done first. Like I said, I'm no professional at this, but what I am trying to show you that anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So that is, I know you can't really see it because of the mesh, but if I OK on that and I hide the bodies, I want to hide the scan data, you'll see already we actually have, not far off, the basic profile of that top end of the wing. And that's taken me a matter of minutes once we started sketching. Obviously there's a lot more to do, but gives us a basic shape, basic thing to work off. And what I am going to do is highlight them all and just then remove that, so I've only got my faces. And I do want to modify . I want to modify, and am I being stupid? There we go. Don't know what I was looking for there, but I got well lost. So what I'm going to do is just move them up in the Z-axis, all of them up in the Z-axis by 1 mil. And then because of that, you can just see them a little bit better through the mesh. As you can see. Maybe that's come up a bit high, but we're in the basics of starting the form here. The other thing it is worth doing is, I can't remember what is flicking between, you have a flat mode and a curved mode. You should do most of your design work in the flat mode. Once you've got your basic shape with the flat mode, at that point you should flick on the curved mode and it should near enough line up with your model. But what the curved mode is what will get, let's say, 3D printed or whatever. So I think I'm in flat mode now, I should be. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is edit form, and then I'm just holding control just to do a multiple select. I'm just grabbing all these edges, and then if you press Alt and drag down, it basically does a copy of all those faces. If you let go of the mouse, or the left mouse button, and then do it again, you get another set of faces. So you could keep doing this all the way along, basically, as much as you like. But I only want one for now. And what I'm basically wanting to do is just start following So what I'm doing, I'm just starting to try and make this rolled edge where it just starts curling over with these vertices. Just want to make sure, you see, I'm just making sure it's ever so slightly above the mesh. I don't know how much that is in mil, but probably like less than half a mil. I'm just going to do that on every single one of these vertices. I do them individually because you'd probably want to move them all different amounts. So, and this is just, we're just starting with our basic form at the minute. These will get tweaked loads of times. It's not like you would just each point once and that's done. You'll get your basic form, then you'll probably go around once, twice. Returns a lady. Well, 3 or 4 times probably. It's not, like I say, it's not something that you just adjust them once and then you're done. It does take a bit of time, but I do think it's worth it. It's actually quite a nice way of modelling. If you were trying to do this with sketches, I'm sure it'd be much more difficult. So, after that short interlude, I'm going to go back to creating this form because it seems to be the easiest way of doing it. So, we're going to go back into angle mode instead of curve mode. So, as you can see there, the difference. And what we're going to do is grab all those edges again. So I'll select that one. I will suggest I'm using a mouse now. I wasn't before. I would highly suggest, if you're doing CAD work, get yourself a mouse if you're using a laptop. Obviously, if you're using a desktop, you've probably got a mouse already, but using CAD software with a touchpad is not the nicest thing in the world. So again, we're going to just hold Alt, and then I'm just going to drag these out in a really weird direction. You're probably wondering why. But so they're now easy to grab. They're not going to be hidden under the mesh. We'll start from this side again, why not? So you just still want to be in this modify tab. And now this one, I want it to sit somewhere near that edge, I think. I should make CAD software, but you wear VR goggles. You can stand in it and pull and twist it. That'd be quite good. That's probably the $1 million idea that I'm not smart enough to do. What about there? I'm just following that edge around. It's, like I say, it's not difficult to do. If I can do it, you lot definitely can do it. And it's free software, so it's worth giving it a go. You get a 30-day trial. I've only got 3 days left of my free trial, but then you can use it as a hobbyist for free, which I'm probably just going to do that. So I am using it for a hobby, making these parts. So you can sort of see, even on this section view, that sort of see that rear wing starting to take shape. And like I said, this is just the base layer. This bit actually takes most amount of time. Once you've done this bit, the actual creating the rear wing, the bit you actually want to designing, is quite quick. So I'm going to do basically the same as what I've just been doing. Select all these faces, and oh, I did not want to do that. And Alt again. I'm just going to drag them pretty much straight down, and then I'll just bring them out a little bit, and then we'll just get the scan info back in. And it's just basically a rinse and repeat of what we've been doing. As you can see, we really are taking shape on the, and this is just the base of the rear wing. That's obviously curved view, straight view if you want. I don't know if they're the correct words, but they make sense in my head, so they're what I'm using. So I think just one more row here will probably do us, just to get us down to that bottom piece. Right, so yeah, let's do one more. And again, I'm just holding Alt and we'll drag them straight down. And then we'll start tweaking them again. Start this end this time, just change things up a bit. I want to get this now relatively close to what the rear window is, which is there obviously. I'm pretty happy there. So I've just realised I've been putting some really funny faces when I concentrate and I tend to lick the bottom of my lips a bit. So I do apologise. Might even cut those bits out. No one wants to see me licking my lips like that. Right. So that's given us a good base to work off, I think. What I'll do, if we go back there, so I've got a good base, like I say, that half. I just want to do at least one extra on the front here to just get it to roll down. I just want it to just hook a little bit. I want it to look a bit OEM, bit OEM. So again, same as usual. It's quite weirdly satisfying, I think, doing this type of modelling, especially once you start getting your head around it. Like I say, I am no professional. Far from it. But when you start seeing some of the things you've designed come sort of to fruition, if you like so, it's really satisfying. Really satisfying. It's definitely one of those things. It's like everything. The more you practice it, the better your models are going to turn out. So the best thing, if you want to do this sort of stuff, is just download a CAD software like Fusion or whatever. There's plenty of different CAD softwares out there. So now what I'm going to do is, to sort of just finish this base piece off, is I'm going to create a few more faces. It's going to get a little ugly doing it this way. Oh, why has that done that? So that should just give me that outer edge around the rear wing. Again, if we go in 3, pretty good. A little bit of editing, but we're pretty good there. It's more just these edges that I've just put in. Move that one up a touch. So now we've modelled it in the 2D, it's not a 2D, like the flat view, if you like, this view. We now need to do it in the curve view. You might be asking, why did you just do it in the curve view to start with? If you just do it in the curve view, you can end up with a really messy form with all your planes being in the wrong place, and when you start tweaking things, then suddenly it won't work, or not how you expect it to anyway. So I would suggest always doing your form in the flat, and then we'll do the final tweaks. Right, I'll just undo that because I want to do that in unison. I just want to bring that up a touch. Bring that edge up. That is looking pretty good. I'll just bring this edge out ever so slightly. That is pretty damn good, that. Just want to see how far off we are with these edges. So now, in theory, when we turn the mesh off, it should look pretty much exactly the same as the mesh. And in theory, when we get that 3D printed, if we just got that done as a bit of a shell like that was a couple of mil thick, that should just straight over. Now, this is where we get to the fun bit. This is where we get to actually design the rear wing. So what we're going to do is basically do the same as what we have been doing. We'll create a nice leading edge. So, probably from here. And I'm going to go back into square mode as well. Just grabbing that leading edge. And then what we're going to want to do is just do the same as what we have been doing. So Alt, I'm just going to grab them forward and up a little bit. The other thing you want to do is re-grab that edge, because if we go back to the curve view, it's going to put like a massive curve in it, and actually you don't want a curve. I want a crease there. I want it to be 90 degrees or more. So what we need to do is select that edge, and then what you can do is, if you go in modify, you can crease. He says, now not working. There we go. So now we're still in the curve view, but as you can see, it's actually put a nice hard crease in there now. So now what I'm going to do is again just start manipulating these points again. And because I want a little bit of a nice radiused leading edge to this, I'm going to create quite a small face, something like that. For now, just gets me going. Actually, like I said, I want to be back in this screen really. It's also very important, as you can see, that you just keep moving around to make sure they are actually in the position you want, because you might think that you've just dropped them in the right place, but then you go to another view and it's absolutely nowhere where you thought you'd left it. I mean, that's a pretty good starting point, I think. Gets us on the way. So, same again, we're going to select this leading edge, and then Alt, and again we're just going to sort of drag them back. That's going to be quite a big face and quite a substantial angle on it. Let's start with there. Obviously on this back bit I don't actually want to go that far, so I will grab this point, just drag it back a bit, and this point. So now I'm going to create, it's just a rinse and repeat. Basically what I'm doing over and over again is just getting an edge, extending it where I need it, manipulate the points, getting the shape that I need. I'm not going to go as far this time, you'll probably see why relatively soon. So I am going to have to close this up at some point. At the minute I think I might get away quite well. And you want to always use squares, best way of getting the nicest uniform shapes. You can get what you call a star point, which is where, I can't do it with my fingers, basically 5 points meet it once, and it makes a bit of a pinch point, and it can look quite ugly sometimes. If you can maybe get them all to converge on a bit that's flat, you can get away with it, but it's very rare that ends up happening, especially, well, it does with me anyway. So that's one edge. I want to keep them selected. Alt again. I'll go straight down for a second one. And I might even do another one. Not another one.
You're joking. Not another one?
So, as you can see, we're actually starting to take a bit of shape. I think I will end up going quite a bit higher with that rear wing. And I'll probably give it a few more little design flares along the way, but we'll get it as a solid wing first. Well, not wing, a spoiler should I say. So we'll start from, if I do want to pull these edge faces out now actually, because I'm not far enough away in my opinion. Didn't actually mean to have that face select, those points selected at the bottom, but here we are. And what I want to do is get these pretty close. Doesn't actually matter how close they are, but it just suits my head a bit. Because what we're going to do is weld points, and what this does is basically reattach it back down here, and this will start giving us our solid shape. So I'm going to do that now with as many as possible. I just need to remember which one. Right, I remember now, obviously. So the first one you select is the daughter, or the child or whatever. So yeah, first one's a child, second one's a parent, so the child will always go to the parent. So I'm actually going to remove the mesh just to do this, so it's out of the way. So that's one done. To that. Now I want to take this one. Let's weld that one to this one, and then this one. Let's go to this one. So now what we've got is an open gap here that I need to close up somehow. And what I'm going to do first is just, well, what I'm going to do is just have a little play really. Just see what the best way of doing it is. What I want to do, because it's messing with my head a bit, I want to move these points just over a little bit. That point's just making it difficult to see what I'm doing, so I'll just move that out of the way. So next face. There. 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 I mean, you're also supposed to try and avoid triangles, but as you can see, I've just put a triangle in. See if I delete that. Modify. So that is now filled. It's not going to look pretty. Well, I'll show you now if I go into curve view. It's having a right mare. But we have got the basic shape of our rear wing. Let's go to 1, back to 1. I do actually still have to put an edge in, a crease in, sorry. So what you can see is actually I still need to put a crease in. So we'll do that now. We'll go back to this view. This is going to be the difficult bit though. So where that darker line is there, that means that that already has a crease. So hopefully if we go in crease there, and then we go in curve view, we'll see it's given us a much nicer shape. Still not 100% happy with this point here, but we've got the basic shape. We can now look at making it a bit aggressive and making it a bit more like I'd like. And now I'm probably going to do a lot of my editing in this curved mode because that's sort of designing it how I want it now. I'm going to move this edge forward. Up a touch. I don't quite like how tight that is there. Maybe I need to bring this edge back a touch, the bottom edge. So now I've been fed and watered, we can carry on. So, as you can see here, I've got my basic shape of the rear wing, or rear spoiler. So I've saved this as the base model, because I'm going to make two versions. I'm also going to do a separate save and call it like style 2, let's say, wing 2 style 2. So this one I'm going to import, insert a edge. I want to insert two edges to the left of this edge because I want to move it across. So we'll do that first thing. I'm sort of going to copy what I've done previously, because I did like the style, I just hadn't designed it probably the best. I want to keep it exact for now. Or shall I do it simple? Might do it simple. Right, we'll do the same again. So now what we've got is a nice edge that I can make a finishing curve. So I want to do that, a bit of a flick like I did on the other spoiler that I showed you before this one. I want to do something like that. Maybe not quite as extreme, but something along them lines. But the reason why I saved two is that I've got two to go back and forth, see which one I like the best really. So what I'm going to do is just grab this edge here. And this is the beauty of forms now, because I've got this baseline done. I'll grab that edge, and if I click modify, I'm pretty sure if I do a bit of that, it gives a very similar, maybe less aggressive as the other one. And that's pretty much, to be honest, as far as I want to go, I think. So I want to do that again. I just want to see what difference it makes if I pull this edge as well. Just more of a test piece really. Just wondering whether it'll give me a bit better tweaking of the profile on these edges. I think that's going to be sort of design number one. What I'm also going to do is just do a section analysis. I just want to get an idea how thick that edge is, because that's quite a point actually. To the point where actually if you look at loop, does a weird loop thing. So I do need to tweak that a little bit. That's fine. So let's put that back to 0. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to drag this edge back. That's giving it just a slightly nicer edge there, that you can see already. I think that's going to be it. So now I need to mirror it. And what I'm going to do and show to see if my methods have been correct is I'm going to mirror it without showing the mesh, and then put the mesh over after, and then that'll see if it matches up alright. So let's do that. So let's mirror that whole body. Mirror plane is that. I want to go OK. You might be thinking, oh, why is that not showing up? Because I've got my section analysis if I hide that. So there's the rear wing. Now all I've got to do is just join that up, which is not a big job. I'll quickly do that now. What we'll do is bridge. What's a little bit annoying is that it doesn't like automatically select all the edges. It's like pretty obvious which I mean, but it sort of makes me pick every edge. Like I said, there's probably a button that would do it for me, but anyway, kind of done what I want it to do. Kind of. It's pinched it at the bottom there, but I know why. It's not put the creases in. It's a bit annoying. So, let's put the creases in and see if that fixes it. Sort of moment of truth. So what we're looking for on this side now is if any of the form is through the mesh, and how far through. So, yeah. And that hole there, that's just sort of where the scan didn't pick up. But to be honest, I think we're looking pretty good. I'll do a section out of this and we'll float all the way through. I mean, it's not bad. To be honest, I'm pretty happy with that. I reckon if I went all the way down the model, it's going to be a similar sort of distance. So I'm really happy with that actually. So, in theory, I should be able to get this printed now. In theory. And it fit to that rear wing. I should be able to just bond it on. And it should be fine. In theory. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I might just do a tiny bit of tidying up off camera, but like I said, I'm pretty happy with that. It sort of keeps on par with the BMW design. kind of. Just adds my own little flick, really. My own little design cue. But yeah, I might just tweak that edge in. So I'll probably undo a few of the bits I've done, because I need to make sure it's equal, so I'll undo the mirror and stuff like that, and then do my tweaking that I need to do, and jobs are good on. So in the next bit of footage, or the next video, I'm not sure what yet, hopefully I'll have either a whole one 3D printed or a couple of sections like I have before. I do plan on getting this fully 3D printed, whether I'll use it as just a mould or a plug and now get it made out of glass fibre or carbon fibre, I don't know. I might just do some bodywork and paint it and glue it on for now. We'll see how we get on. I'm yet to get it 3D printed as a whole. I know it's been a long video, but if you have stuck to the end and liked the end product, it's got to be worth a like and a subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video, see what we get up to next. Might be doing a little bit more engine work. We'll see.